Greetings, family. Welcome to another episode of Life-Giving Conversations with Thobeka Dlamini. It is such a pleasure to have you. Please do share and like and subscribe. I believe that this information will help somebody out there who desperately needs it. Someone is in need of answers. Somebody is in need of remedy. And I believe that the information that we're going to share today, or that I'm going to share today, is going to shed some light and maybe some wisdom in the context of families and marriages. So I'm looking forward to having this discussion and having this this short episode with you, just to highlight on some of the marriage destroyers that are really contributing to really a lot of unions coming to a halt, coming to an end. Maybe some of them are not really at an end, but really in ICU because of some of the things that are happening internally. And sometimes you find that the parties involved don't have the guts to really call these things out. And so with the knowledge being so broad on social media, with so many podcasts and so many people contributing to the space, I think it is relevant that we have a balanced approach, especially when it comes to the area of families and marriages. So today we're going to be zooming in on the issue of extreme entitlement. Now, we all know that if you are in a love relationship, if you're within a marriage, there are things that you are entitled to. Entitlement meaning you have a right to those things by virtue of you being married, or by virtue of you having a spouse. There are things that you have a right to. So you do have a right to be loved. You do have a right to be taken care of. You have a right to be respected. And it is something that you come expecting when you come into a union, that you'll be loved, you'll be supported, you'll be cherished. And so, unfortunately, this is not the experience of most people that come into unions. And so this is where the problem starts, when people come into a union and they feel overly entitled to certain things. And most of the time you find that their contribution towards creating the environment for those things to happen is really on minimal. And so I want us to just maybe as a base scripture, just look at a principle that we find in the book of Ecclesiastes chapter number 4. I want us to look at the principle of two being better than one, two being better than one. And I want to lay my foundation by saying it is a wrong approach to come into a union and think that the union is all about you. There are individuals that walk into a love relationship, they walk into a union, and they are so convinced that that marriage is wholly about them, about their happiness, about their comfort. And this has caused a serious imbalance when you find couples coming together and the one couple is stretched more than the other. And eventually one person that is rowing the boat, or that is keeping the boat going, becomes tired of rowing the boat. And so sometimes you find that the boat sinks. So today I want us to look at the principle of two being better than one, and it's found in the book of Ecclesiastes 4 from verse 9 to 12. I'm going to take it step by step so that we don't leave any area uncovered, or maybe let me rather say we don't leave any critical area uncovered, so that we have a picture of some of the things that we are really not bringing a balance on when it comes to the union or to the marriage relationship. So in verse number 9, it says, two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. Now, please allow me to just upfront confront one of the misconceptions that we have in our time and in our era. And sometimes it trends so much on social media and on different platforms, that people begin to believe that that is how it's supposed to be. There is a common a phrase that is used amongst female, that indoda must, and usually that must comes with extreme expectations of an exorbitant life, extreme expectations of presence that does not have balance, extreme expectations maybe of being spoiled on a certain level without a balance of life responsibilities and everything else that is going on in the marriage relationship. So we find that some of these phrases, though casually said, begin to form an ideology, and that's not just amongst people that are in the world, but also Christians, that there becomes sort of like a concept, or let me rather say a culture, that creeps in to grab a hold of people's expectations and grab a hold of people's view towards marriage and expectations towards marriage. And I feel that some of those things do need to be corrected. And so in verse 9, we're highlighting that 2 is better than 1, and because they shall receive a return, or a good return rather, for their labor. Meaning, you can do something alone, but once you have a party that is added to your life, you are able to get a good return for that labor. Now, we need to address this in our time and era, because a lot of men are finding themselves under a lot of pressure, societal pressure, in terms of provision, in terms of financial success and financial stability. And this principle that is highlighted here in the book of Ecclesiastes is highlighting to us that if there are 2 people involved, there should be a good return for their labor, meaning 2 is better than 1. It means 1 is equally laboring and another is equally laboring to make sure that there is a good return for whatever labor has taken place. And so we need to quickly address the issue of entitlement of women, some of them that are waiting for a marital relationship as a sort of financial rescue or as a financial plan for their lives. We've engaged on different levels with different types of people, and you get to see that the mentality is there that if nothing else works out, or if nothing else proceeds on my part, at least let me get myself a financially viable person who's going to be able to take care of me. And we need to quickly dismantle some of these things that are going on in our society, because these are some of the things that are causing problems. That you find a female coming into a relationship highly or overly entitled to being taken care of, to the extent that they're doing nothing with their life. They are not laboring in any way to make sure that there is a good return for both their labor. In other words, in this era that we live in, dual labor, or let me rather say double labor, is needed for a good return, especially in our time, especially in our day, with all the financial demands, with all the pressures that men are facing in society, to be able to provide, to be able to take care of their families. And what usually happens is that once the man is unable to do that within the union starts to have some sort of glitches. Sometimes a man will find that they have tantrums that they are experiencing, not because they are not good husbands, but because they are not laboring according to the expectations of their counterpart. And so some of these things we have to just slowly confront, to say that the principle of 2 being better than 1 is that there is equal effort, there is joint effort rather, and that joint effort in return is giving them a good return for that labor. So I'm not bashing the female species. You also find males that are just so relaxed, not aspiring for anything, not putting their hands to work on anything, because they found themselves a well-established female who is doing very well financially, and they sort of found a landing place, and there's an entitlement to say, what is yours is mine, and so let's not separate whatever it is. This is for all of us, and this is, you know, and you find that the one that is sort of at the forefront of bringing in the income is slowly becoming burdened by the labor that they are putting in to make sure that the family pulls through in their financial life. So I wanted to touch on this point as a parting point, so that we know that when we enter into unions, it's important that we both labor. Now, the labor might not be on the same scale, but when that labor is joined together, there is a good return. Of course, marriage has seasons. You'll find that another person has opportunities maybe before another person could grab hold of the opportunities. And you find that they are maybe making more than the other person at different intervals in life. But the main thing is that there is effort in building together on the financial side of the marriage. So that is one thing that I wanted us to touch on, that is based on verse number 9. Now, verse number 10 says, if either of them falls down, one can help the other one up, but pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them. So it's touching again on the importance of two being better than one, meaning once you have somebody that you have joined your life to, there should be an added advantage that on the day that you are down, on the day when you cannot pull yourself up, the other person is there to pull you up. Maybe let me unpack this just a little bit so that we can get a context of how I believe this principle works in marriage. Now, when the other one is down, meaning it will happen that the other one will be down. This is life. It's full of different seasons. A couple will go through many seasons, especially emotionally and in every other aspect of their life. So the principle of two being better than one is that it should be like that the other person is able to lift the other person up. Maybe let me unpack where some of these things go wrong. What happens a lot with couples is that they are in such discord, in such disarray as a unit together, that when the other one falls down, the other one does not have the strength to pull the other one up. Maybe let me rephrase that. In a marriage, if you find yourself at loggerheads all the time, fighting all the time, clashing all the time, what usually then happens is that the day you need the other one to pull you up, they do not have the capacity to pull you up, because there is so much that has drained them from the marriage, from the union, that the day you need them the most, they are not there for you. And then the natural response that people usually then subscribe to in that instance is that they feel, now I've brought somebody in my life who is not supportive, which is not the factor. The factor is that the person has come into an environment that has drained them so much that even though they would love to support you, they don't have the mental strength, they don't have the spiritual strength to do that for you. What am I highlighting with this point? Is that in a marriage, we should fight to cultivate a healthy living environment, so that should it happen that you are retrenched, should it happen that you lose a parent, should it happen that you lose a child, you lose anything else in your life, it could be material, it could be people, you have a support structure that is ready to help you through that crisis, that being your spouse. So two is better than one, because if one of them falls down, the other one can be in a position to pull them up. But where marriages usually fall apart is that then when things fall apart, nobody has the capacity to carry the other one or to lift the other one up. Now, the second verse says, also, if two lie down together, they keep warm. But how does one keep warm when they are alone? Now, allow me to just blatantly say, there is a significant, number of people that are married that do not have, they are two within the union, but they cannot keep each other warm. In other words, they are not able to meet each other's emotional needs or physical needs because of some of the things that have happened within the union. Now, we have to be blatant to say the world can be a cold place. Some are blessed with good working conditions and good working environments. Some are not blessed with good working environments. So when a person comes home from a cold place, from a place that is not inviting, from the world that is full of so many calamities, they need to come back and be in a place that is warm. So it becomes difficult for two people to keep each other warm when the household is also in discord and disarray. So what God intended with the principle of two being better than one is that on the days that are cold in your life, you would have a warm place to land, a safe place to land. Now you find a lot of people where people are married, but it's lonely, it's still cold, but they are in the vicinity of their spouse, or they are in the company of their spouse. And this has to do with the environment of the atmosphere that you have built within your home. Is it conducive for you to come back and be warm in that environment? So one of the things that is highlighted with the scripture is that life is full of different seasons, especially difficult seasons. And if we do not have a safe place to land, a warm place to land, we can find ourselves in a union, but completely cold, completely alone, completely isolated in the presence of the other party. So these are things that we need to start talking about, because people are expecting, there's an entitlement of a warm marriage. There's an entitlement of a spouse that is supposed to support me, yet there has not been joint effort in making sure that we create the environment that will help us on cold days, that will help us on down days, that will help us on days where we're feeling depleted. Then we look at the last verse, which says, though one may be overpowered, two can defend themselves. A cord of three strands is not quickly broken. So I want us to look at the concept of an army that is divided amongst itself cannot overcome. And this is what is happening in most unions, is that the two, which are not supposed to be overpowered, are sometimes overpowered because they are not able to defend themselves. Most of the time, you find that they are not able to defend themselves from the pressures that come from the outside, from the battles that come, whether the battles are spiritual, whatever the manner of the battle it is. They are not able to be able to defend themselves, mostly because they are against each other. So within a marital union, we should always keep these things in check, that if you fight each other, you become against each other. Whatever comes for you will defeat you, because your focus is not on defending yourselves and defending your union. Your focus is on defending yourself against each other, because you are always at loggerheads. And these are some of the things that are making us struggle to get the results that we need when it comes to the benefits of two being better than one, the benefits of two people being better than one. So I'm going to quickly recap from what we have discussed today, and maybe just leave my parting points on what I believe should be our approach when it comes to marriage. When you are in a marital union, over entitlement is very toxic. Thinking that the union revolves around you is toxic for your union. The union is not about one person, it's about two individuals. And above the two individuals, it's about the purpose that God has for that union and that particular family. And so when we come into marriage and we want to make ourselves the center stage of that marriage, there are things that begin to affect the flow of that union. So we touched on joint effort in terms of labor. And we touched on the financial aspect, that we need to have equal, or let me say joint rather, a contribution in terms of the betterment of our financial position, in terms of the pushing the vision of our family, whether it's in finances, whether it's in purpose. There needs to be joint contribution for good reward to come through. Then we said we need to invest in the peace of our marriage, in the safety and the warmth of our marriage, because at the end of the day, when one falls down, one should be in a position to pull up the other one. One should not struggle to be in a position to lift you up when you need them the most. Then our third point, we spoke about coming back to an environment where two can keep each other warm, where two can meet each other's physical and emotional needs, because the environment is conducive for that. So when one lies down, the other one is able to keep them warm. And lastly, work on our communication, work on our conflict resolution, because when we fight against each other, we deplete our energy for us to fight against whatever is coming against us, whatever is coming against the union, whatever is coming against our children. We do not have the capacity to defend ourselves, because all our energies have been spent on fighting each other and fighting against each other. And so I hope with this short video, we are able to identify where we have robbed ourselves of the benefits of two being better than one. Please kindly share this information. It could save a family. It could be a remedy to a union. It could be a source of breakthrough for people that have been in a place where they are feeling lonely, where they are feeling neglected, where they are feeling unsupported, and where they are feeling like they are pulling alone. There is no effort in making sure that the union thrives altogether in every aspect of that union. Thank you so much for taking your time to watch this short video. And I do know that one or two people, maybe three, maybe 100, will find it very useful, will implement and get the fruits and enjoy the fruits thereof. We do hope that you'll be subscribing and following and sharing this vital information until our next episode. Goodbye.